Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us for this CA Spectrum webcast. My name is Octavie Shakut and I'm your CA Community Manager. We are joined by Sapdeep Singh and Amit Mohanty from the from the CA Spectrum team who will be presenting today's webcast. Before we get started with today's session, I just want to let you know that if you are using the WebEx audio to listen to this webcast, you should use the chat box right in the WebEx to ask any question you have along the way. Please help keeping your line on mute to prevent background noise. And with that, I'm going to hand you over to Sab. Sab, whenever you
Yeah,
are ready, you can take it away. Thank you.
thanks, Dr. Octavi. Hello, everyone, based on the location where you are. My name is Sarabdeep Singh. With me, Amit Mohanty. What we are going to do is today we're going to present what we have done, what we have delivered as part of the latest release of CA Spectrum 10.3.1. So here is the agenda of today's webcast. What we have done as part of this webcast, we have divided all the enhancements, new features, capability into different themes. We start with our modern network technologies, what we in terms of the new capabilities and new features which we added. Uh, Apart from that, from the ease of use themes perspective, we did added new things into our into the 10.3.1. Um, from the portfolio integrations perspective, I'll talk about the two integrations we strengthened with respect to the new capability in terms of Spectrum integrations as well as the APM SAS. Then I move on to the expanded capabilities where we focus on strengthening our current solution and focus on the already available components and add new features and new capabilities onto them, which will help customers in a longer run. At the end, what we're going to do is I'll talk about some of the other enhancements related to the Jaspersoft or the third-party components and more. At the end, I'll request you to post your questions in the chat box. Me, Amit, and Nagesh, we all are on. As soon as I'm off the webcast, I'll check my chat and then respond back to you guys. Okay. Starting with our focus area in terms of the SDWAN perspective. What we have done is we have added two key SDWAN solution supports in 10.3.1. The first one is with respect to Viptela, and the second one, which I'm going to talk about, is with respect to Versa, which in conjunction with the VNA integration. Now, let's talk about the first the Viptela integration. What you will get from the Viptela integration, I mean Spectrum and VNA integration, is what we are as a Spectrum customers, what you will get from the integrations perspective. With these integrations, now we are getting the Viptela inventory, alarm, as well as events. From the inventory perspective, right, you get basically two key things. One, all your policy groups, policies, the SLA paths, the application paths are getting fetched inside your Spectrum topology. And from the domain perspective, you will get all the sites and technologies. When we talk about the policy group, under the policy group, you will see the list of policies which you have created in your Viptela devices, as well as their SLA paths under those policies will listed there. Not only that, on the SLA path, right? As soon as you click on the SLA path, you will see the topology view in between the two different V edges, which is being formed in your Viptela devices. So you will get the end-to-end connectivity between your V edges as well as the transport information, which are available for both the edges. From the domains perspective, what you see is you will get two things. One, the site information. You have multiple sites, and you will have your the site consists of the information related to your vbound or vEdges or vSmarts, which are configured in the different sites as per your requirement, as per your deployment in the customer sites. So we are fetching all the vbound, vSmart, and vEdges which are deployed in your customer sites. Uh, on vSmart, if you click on the vSmarts, which is basically as soon as you click on vSmart, you will see a topology which is this side. What we are showcasing here is the two end-to-end two routers. We are showcasing all the how these two edge routers are connecting between their the different Viptela controllers, as well as the different policies and the SLA paths which are defined for these two edge routers, right? From the technology perspective, we are fetching some of the entities which are core to the Viptela device, which are required for some of the custom configurations and settings. In addition to this, what we have added is from the overall Viptela certification perspective, we added some of the core Spectrum capabilities, starting with the Spectrum Network Configuration Manager, and which is required to modify the configuration on the devices, as well as the VRV, which is Virtual Router Redundancy Protocol, which is required for for Viptela devices. So we have certified both of them on the Viptela models. And from the alarms and events perspective, the most important piece is we are utilizing the Spectrum's core capability on the Viptela alarms which are coming into Spectrum. The first one is, which is most common, is related to the WAN links down, which is the core piece for some when monitoring the Viptela devices. What we are doing is we are correlating the Spectrum alarms as well as to the Viptela alarms and identify the root cause analysis. For example, in case of your WAN link alarms, the bad link will be raised. Bad link alarm will be raised by Spectrum as well as the Viptela, which we are getting it via the VNA integration into Spectrum. We correlate together and suppress all the alarms and generate a single alarm, which is BFDT lock down tunnel alarm, which is basically helps you in figuring it out what is the root cause and what is the exact problem, and also showcase the details in terms of the alarms being raised on that particular device from Spectrum as well as the Viptela under the suppression area as well. The second most important use case around the SLA violation piece, the SLA violation alarms, as the environment is so volatile, and it's really important for us to monitor that how many SLAs are how many SLA violations are happening over the network in the SD-WAN environment. So what we have done is we have added a capability where in cases where 15 SLA changes, if there are 15 SLA changes are happening, the SLA violations are happening, Spectrum is going to generate an alarm in term and inform the administrator that there is some SLA problem out there. Not only that, we added the smartness. If those within the after the SLA alarms, if everything settles down, if there is no other alarm related to SLA, we clear it automatically. This will reduce a lot of noise instead of just raising alarms on each and every SLA change as well as the SLA violation. This will help us to control the number of alarms which are coming into Spectrum. Overall, if you see that Viptela and Versa, these are the two PCs which we have delivered, as part of this Spectrum 10.3.1. Overall, if you see what you will get from this certification is you will get the full insight in how different sites are configured, how different vEdges are configured, what are my policies on different branch routers, the information from all the controllers, and how your SLA are configured on the vEdges. So all in all, you will get the full insights of all of your topology. Now, coming on to the SD-WAN Versa, this is similar to Viptela. We added all the capabilities which we were having in Viptela. In addition to this, the inventory is consisting the tenants which are configured on the director. right? The director in Viptela. Other than that, what we have done is we also form the overlay topology for the Versa controller in cases where you have the MPLS as well as the internet connectivity, the internet connections established on the Viptela devices. We form the overlay topology for that. We also displays the policies and policy group informations on the branch routers as well as the I would say the edge routers in those cases. Um, and most importantly, from the Spectrum core capability perspective, the RCA as well as the correlations of Spectrum alarms to the Versa alarms, which is basically helpful in terms of reducing the noise on the Viptela alarms. All in all, these two certifications will help us in monitoring the Viptela and Versa in terms and help and also help you in reducing noise which we are getting it from the Versa. Uh, at last, I would say that we are basically correlating all the different alarms which are being generated on Versa and reduce them at a certain level where you will see around 10 alarms from the overall Viptela devices, the number of scenarios which are happening or number of instances or number of incidents which are happening on the Viptela devices, which is really great. Uh, Similarly, for the Versa, we showcase the end-to-end topology, the connectivity related to your branch routers as well as the controller information in terms of the policies as well as the SDN transport which are being used between the edge routers. So next, Amit is going to talk about the CA Meraki solution. Amit?
Yes, Saurabh, thanks. Great start there. So, folks, with the 10.3.1 for CA Spectrum, we've introduced SNMP support for a range of Meraki solutions. Be it the cloud managed access points or controllers, managed switches and appliances. What you get with that is the support for SNMP traps. You're able to discover Meraki topology view, and you're also able to take advantage of the different abilities of Spectrum from fault isolation and root cause analysis. Uh, and can we move ahead, Saurabh? Okay, so let's kind of maintaining that same tempo here, right? We have had some enhancement on the wireless LAN controller manager, right? Where now we have the ability to skip creating connections for all neighbors for a subnet switch, right? So what is basically is now we are able to create or rather discover connections only towards the upstream switch, and the Spectrum has inbuilt intelligence to identify the right switch by reading the switch source table. So this actually saves us. We have the options available. You could see discover connections only towards the access point. You could select yes or no, and then based on that, it will either skip creating the connection for all the neighbors for a subnet switch or create only the upstream switch. Move ahead, please. Right, and on the same note, actually now, one of the you know uh, performance issues we face typically, when we have large networks with many access points is, if there are automatic and continuous discovery of access points associated with controllers, right? So now we have the ability to schedule these discoveries, right, in the OneClick. By default that's set as 12 hours, but you can set the schedule for discovery, and this really saves up a lot of performance issues, especially for larger environments. Can we move ahead? Okay. Now again, on the same lines, we have the dynamic multipoint VPN support. This is Cisco again, right? What happens here is you're able to discover the hubs and the spokes on your network, and with again on the same lines we can schedule the discovery also using this option to decide as to when to schedule the discovery of these once you add new elements into the network, right? But the net of it is now we are able to perceive, when a hub has gone down, right, or when a spoke has gone down, right? So that really helps in the overall DMVPN support, right? And this even works for the NHRPP, the next hop release protocol, right? So even if something's not registered and it goes down, we're still able to detect that. Kind of moving ahead. Saurabh, yeah. So again, one of the enhancements we've had for the Juniper MPLS support is, typically what happens in, we have the Jinx LDP LSP down event which occurs in Juniper devices, but in this case, what happens is, the trap is actually generated on neighboring devices, right, instead of where it was meant to be generated for. So now with 10.3.1, we are able to, ensure that this trap is actually forwarded from the neighboring device to the rightful owner, right? And then based on that, we show, what's the appropriate alarm, what's the, events associated. Right? Can we move ahead, Sharp? Yeah. So moving to the improved ease of use again. Right. So this is one of our key items in 10.3. Beta version for OneClick WebApp. Now we have had a lot of feedback with regards to the use of Java in the OneClick thick client, right? So what we have done in this release is we have a swing based application that opens up instance of OneClick thick client without the need of without invoking Java. Now this really solves that key pain point which we have been having for a while, right? It eliminates dependence on JRE, and with that, the need to periodically update the JRE also sort of goes away. Now, the good part is since it creates an exact instance of the OneClick thick client, so all the capabilities, all the features of OneClick thick client are now available on a web page using the Swing UI. And on top of that, the web Swing natively has several admin capabilities which provide insights with regards to usage and operator experience, and some of these can be really helpful, particularly while interacting with support, because not only do we have ability to look at the session statistics, we also have the ability to control sessions, as in the admin is able to show sessions, shut down sessions, record sessions. All these really help up, especially when we are choosing to when we have an interaction with support and need to understand where exactly an operator has gone wrong, or did something that's causing an error, right? So we move ahead. We have some. So we have a screenshot. So the screenshot that you see on the left-hand side is actually of the OneClick Java console, and the one that you see on the right-hand side is an exact. It's the same, but it's from the OneClick web browser. So inherently there's no difference in terms of what we see, in terms of what we can do from the Java console to the OneClick web app, right? So that makes the adoption really easy, because there's no learning curve here for the operators, for the users, right? Whatever they were doing on the OneClick Java console, they're now able to do on the OneClick web app. This really helps up, and again, going back to the initial point, moving away from the dependence of JRE and the regular upgrades. Can we move ahead? Right.
Right.
So, Sarab, over to you.
Right. Thanks, Amit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the Docker support, right? In the previous release, we have provided the capability to support Docker environment, where customers can deploy out-of-the-box Docker containers, where we provided the Docker image or Docker container for Spectrum server, the OneClick, and the SDC to create their own DSS environment. So what we have done from the last release to now, we have added three key enhancements. The first and foremost is the auto install for DSA Spectrum DSS installation. Previously, what used to happen is user has to create the YAML files and push them to create the containers into the OpenShift environment, which was really a tedious task, and there were multiple manual steps involved. What we have done is all these pieces, all the manual tasks related to YAML as well as the container creation, we have automated them. Now, what customer has to do is they just need to specify the number of location servers, where their storage would be in an input file. What we have done is we are providing the auto installation script, and with the auto installation script, you just have to specify the input files which we have created. With the use of the input files, now we are building our DSS environment, which is pretty easy. This reduced the number of manual steps into just 3 steps. You just have to specify everything in a input file, and from the auto installation script perspective, just provide the input file. That's what we did it from the auto installation perspective. The second piece is there are always a lot of questions with respect to what will happen if there is a container failure. What will happen if what will happen if I have a new environment, a new build which is provided by CA? Can I upgrade from my older version to newer version? What would be the scenario around that? So there is a concept called persistent storage. So what we are doing as part of our scenarios is the SSDB, DMDB, and the customizations all will be reserved in the persistent storage. In the second diagram, what you see is the NFS server, which is a separate container, is my persistent storage. I am saving all my SSDB, DMDB, and customization into my persistent storage, and which can be utilized in cases where you will have your Spectrum server container failures. And most importantly, scenarios like in cases where your container is restarting. All the applications which are residing on the container will pick up the data from the saved data which are saved in the persistent storage, which means that there is no loss of data. In any case, there are scenarios like if there is a failure of a particular container, we keep backing up the persistent storage on a regular basis. In case of the Spectrum server failure or any other container failure, we'll pick the data from the persistent storage and make sure that the new instance will have the data from the same persistent storage. So there is no loss of data as well. Lastly, the scenario in case of upgrades, right? What will happen in case there is a new image? The capability will allow you to upgrade the containers automatically as soon as you have uploaded the new image to the registry. The new container get upgraded to a latest version, and the data will be picked from all of your customization, all of your SSDB data and DMDB data. Everything will be picked from the persistent storage. So you need not to bother about your older container data. So everything will be retained. The last but not the least, with respect to the trap support, it's really important for us to monitor those containers which are there on the network, and the traps which are going the traps between the devices and flow between your different the containers and from the host devices. So we have added our trap support using the trap director for containers. Since these all are in a private or the clustered, the OpenShift clustered environment, so what we have to do is we need to enable the trap director on one of your location server, and configure the node ports as well as map those ports into the host port, which will mean that you are opening the ports to send the traps to outside. In addition to this, what you will get is users can send the traps on the devices which are modeled across the landscapes in your distributed environments. All in all, three key enhancements which we have made. One, with respect to the auto installation perspective, we simplify the installation, just a 3 steps procedure. Just provide the input file. Based on that, we'll create your distributed setup environment. We focused on your upgrade scenarios, focused on your container failure problems, focused on your new container or any failure with respect to the Spectrum servers or OneClick or any other container failure. What will happen to my data in terms of the persistent storage feature. And last but not the least, we added the trap support using the trap directors. Okay, moving on from the Spectrum and Cabby Spectrum and Cabby integration perspective. There are almost 50 plus out-of-the-box reports which are available as of now. Our focus was to deliver and expose all the domains to the customers so that customers can build their own reports or custom reports from that data. There are a few challenges with respect to some of the domains in terms of the exposing the data, such as the services in SLA. So what we have decided is to build those reports out of the box, try to find out that some of the top services in SLA reports and build them out of the box for the customers. So if you see in my PPT, I list down the 7 out of the box reports which we have delivered as part of Spectrum 10.3.1. The reports like the service summary variable health level, or the service summary by service name, the service availability by service name. These are some of the core reports which everybody wants to use it and everybody need it in their customer environment, whether you are MSP or whether you are you're monitoring your own network. These are the important pieces which are required. So we have provided these 7 reports out of the box. Okay, so moving on to our next theme, which is the AIOps portfolio integrations. So integration is really an important piece, and we really want to focus on some of the aspects of integrations and making sure that the things which we are doing and things we are enhancing for the customers in terms of the integrations, what new capability which are available in other products we should be consuming in our product, and making sure that the integration is seamless. The first and foremost, strengthening our CA Spectrum and UAM integration with the 2 key capabilities. One, the high availability support of your Spectrum Gateway probe using the CA UAM probe, which will handle your cache deletions, your state alarm deletions, as well as auto recovery of data whenever there is a HA failure or the failure happens in your environment. And most importantly, there is capability being added with respect to the filtering of VM entities. One of the use case around this is some of the customers are having 30,000 virtual machines. Previously, what used to happen is, as soon as you enable the VM management in Spectrum and UAM integration, all those 30,000 virtual machines are getting pumped into Spectrum, which was really a chaos, and it's really hard and difficult for customers to manage them. There is a definite need for filter those 30,000 alarms and only get what really customer want to monitor. So if you see in the screenshots, we have changed our UI and added 2 capabilities. One, you need to specify a UAM group name for specifically servers or hosts. And the second one, which is a new capability being added, is with respect to VMware. You have to specify a UAM group for VMware filtering. In UAM, you will create a group, and all the virtual instances which you are virtual or VM entities which you really want to get monitored by Spectrum. So this is pretty a handy case in case you want to filter out your VMware environments and want to get and control your servers as well as virtual machines being monitored by Spectrum. Amit, over to you. This is the integration with respect to APM SAS.
Yes, thanks, Saurabh. So again, as Saurabh rightly mentioned, right, the integration is a key part of our overall product strategy, right? And keeping that in mind, the CA Spectrum integration with the APM SAS, right? Again, pretty kind of straightforward here, right? The Spectrum models the CA APM SAS agents, and then whenever we have an alarm being generated on the APM SAS, right? The Spectrum again then has an alarm created on the Wiley agent model. So again, this is in sync. So if the alarm is cleared, Spectrum is notified, and the associated alarm is cleared. So that's about the integration with APM SAS. Can we move forward? Yeah. So again, so this is again one of the key items in 10.3.1 here, right? The network configuration manager self-certification support. So what we have in the network configuration management is out-of-box support for Cisco, Juniper, Extreme as such. But now with Spectrum 10.3.1, we have the ability to basically any SSH supported device that do not have the out-of-box NCM support, we are able to configure them as custom devices and enable NCM support. Now, to be specific, the operations that are supported using the SSH command right now are, the capture of the startup configuration, the capture of the running configuration, and the upload configuration. Now, this eliminates the need to write any scripts and that sort of thing for non-supported devices, especially if wanting to run the above commands. Now moving ahead, yeah, sorry. Yeah, Sarab, can we move ahead?
Yep.
Right. So what I have here is the actual screenshots of how we create a custom device family, and what we sort of need to provide in the search options and that sort of thing. Again, if we move ahead, this is the actual screenshot out of the view where you can provide the running, the startup, and the load commands, right? And once you post the configuring commands, CA Spectrum will enable the NCM support for the model type. So if we move further ahead, we have another screenshot. Sarab can, yeah, Sarab, yeah. So this is a screenshot where you can use the of the host configuration tab, right, in the components details to capture or upload the configurations of the selected host. Okay, so kind of switching gears again. This is in line with the other enhancements that we did to ensure optimal performance. The ones I talked about in the wireless controller manager,
Please
right?
press so this is in context. Dial pad.
Sorry. Okay. So this is in context of the VMware, where again we have the scheduling capabilities within the OneClick, by which you could schedule discoveries and thereby eliminating any additional discoveries that might be running and causing performance issues, especially for larger environments. Saurabh, can we move ahead? Okay, so this SNMP v3 enhancement is geared towards the managed service providers. Again, the ability now is we have the ability to restrict v3 profiles to a particular SDC, and that can be so if you see the secure domain option on the screenshot, the right hand side towards the bottom, right, where you can have now you have a privacy and security, and you can restrict v3 profiles based on a particular secure domain option. Again, the advantages being now you have the ability to prevent users from viewing devices or profiles belonging to other users. Again, primarily useful for MSPs customers. So Sarab, can we move ahead?
Okay, I'll take the other one. Moving ahead with our last theme, which is the other enhancement perspective. The first one is related to the CA remote engineering tool. Uh, this is not something new. This is CA's own product.
I tried.
What we are,
Sorry, was there a
okay.
question?
Okay, let me go ahead. It's okay. Uh, what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about the next capability which we added in 10.3.1. This is the CA's remote engineer tool which we have added as part of our installer. The biggest advantage for the care tool is it simplifies our diagnostic process, as well as it collects the related logs, as well as the diagnostic data configuration files which are required to debug any issue. The business value here is in most of the interactions in terms of the customer issues, our L1 and L2 keep on requesting some of the logs or some of the things which they really need to understand, or to which are needed to debug a particular issue. With this particular utility, what you have to do is you just have to run this in your environment. It will fetch all the related and all the expected logs which we feel are necessary to troubleshoot a particular problem.
Please press 1 from your
And
dial pad.
and what it does is
To
it will
enjoy
create a local zip file in your CA remote installation directory. And as soon as if there is any problem with respect to any issue, they can run this tool and share the zip file to the L1 and L2 for the debug as well as for the troubleshooting purposes. So pretty handy tool, which we are shipping along with Spectrum. You just need to install
Please
from
press
a
1
particular
from your dial pad.
The last one which I'm going to talk about is the platform as well as the third-party software updates. Um, we do have, as Amit rightly mentioned, we added a new capability for OneClick WebApp, right? With this, we have introduced a new third-party application in our kitty, which is the Java Swing 2.5.5,
Please press 1.
and upgraded our Java to 1.8.192. And there are a couple of other third-party components which were updated because of the vulnerabilities being reported on the older one. And we continuously focus on some of the areas which are older enough and needs to be addressed in the releases. For example, the Apache as well as MySQL backup version is also updated into the latest Spectrum 10.3.1. All in all, if I summarize the overall release, we started our journey with modern networks, where we added a support for Viptela, Versa, as well as the SNMP support for Meraki. From the ease of use perspective, we did add NCM Auto Certification. We added Docker enhancements, which are pretty handy for the customers. Um, we added some of the enhanced tools which are critical for any customers in terms of debugging, which is a care tool. We updated all our third-party libraries as well as the third-party components in our release. That's all I have.
Please press 1.
Over to you, Octavia. Yep.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Amit, for this great presentation. So I'm really sorry. I've noticed that most of you run into an issue when trying to connect to the WebEx. For any reason that I need to find out, the meeting password was not included in the meeting info. So I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. Now you still have some time to ask your question. So we have some questions in the chat box that have been answered by Nagesh. Thank you. If you're on the phone line, you can unmute your line by hitting #6. Amit, Sab, and Nagesh will be happy to answer your question. Well, you can use either the chat box or you can ask some live question. Yes, we have a question from John. Go ahead, John. Yes, the WebEx has been recorded and will be posted later today or early tomorrow. Another one from John, DB upgrade from legacy to new DB. Amit or Sab, I don't know who wants to go ahead. We have some question in the chat. The first one,
So I'll answer the question which is from John about from the for the DB migration to legacy to new. So
okay.
so is there a part to upgrade to legacy small DB to new large config SNMP? So John, I think there's a well documented page in the documentation on upgrading from small DB to new DB. It's not a direct upgrade. It's not an in-place upgrade. I guess we'll have to do a fresh install and do a DB migration. So I guess you can refer the documentation which has been there. So next I'll answer from Clark. Will this encryption from Cisco be supported? Clark, I'll check on that one and we'll get back to you. Probably if you have any ideation link posted on the community, if you can forward us to that, that would be helpful. So next I'll answer for Olaf. Support for telemetry. Yes, Olaf, this is definitely planned for Spectrum and CPM both. To start with, we are going to go with Juniper telemetry. That's what we are still learning about those new streaming mechanism and then how to interpret using DNA or any other tools and then ingest into Spectrum or CAPM. So long answer short, yes, this is planned for future releases of the entire NetOps suite of products.
Two more questions.
So is there a CA APM package available for CA Spectrum to check Spectrum performance transaction? I have no idea, Rad. I'll come back on the packages about CA APM, but as far as I know, I don't think there's any package available from CPA APM side, but we'll confirm that and come back. Any plans for Telegraph and Spectrum? Rakesh, is that Telegraph or you're asking about telemetry? So Rakesh, I'm not sure if it what telegraph means. I'll have to go back and check if it's some sort of protocol which you want to support. We'll go back and check. As of now, there's no plan for telegraph.
From your dial pass.
So next one is Brian.
Right, I read that one. It's UIM filtering. I need to check it out, Brian. I think with the latest one, which version of Spectrum are you using? Because we have added the newer Spectrum Gateway versions where we have the configuration tab where you can specify the UIM group for VM entities. If not, I'll get back to you. I have this chat. I'll get back to you personally, and I'm trying to understand that what is the problem which you have.
So on the next question about OneClick WebApp, it says beta and 10.3.1, why it's included in the GA package. The reason for that, Jiang, was that our beta cycle or the pre-release cycle is very short, and then we want maximum feedback on this OneClick WebApp. For some of our large customers who have large number of operators, we wanted to see how it goes. It's not possible during the beta time frame. And what we wanted to do is usually people will download post or in their time of leisure when they get time to test in their environment. Hence, we included as beta, and we are still getting feedback. this entire quarter we are going to spend time in fixing the issues which we are getting as a feedback from those various customers. So we do encourage you as well to try that OneClick WebApp and give us any feedback you have. We want widespread adoption. A reason for that as well is because we are going to discontinue web client. It doesn't make sense to have two parallel web clients for this product. So we want adoption for web app as much as possible, since we shipped it with the product, so that our customers and users will have an ability to even try it out outside the beta cycles which we have provided. So yeah, Dave, I
Okay.
understood. So I'll get on to that APM package. I'll confirm from that.
And there is a
Should got
question
off of.
there was a question from Princey related to the new JasperSoft version. Princey, we
Please
have
press 1.
in this particular release we have added 7 reports with JasperSoft 6.4.3. But going forward, plan is we are going to certify KB 7.1 with our next release. So that's the plan.
Okay, any other question? So it looks like you are ready to wrap things up for this session. Again,
Please
thank you,
press 1 from
Sarah
your
and
dial pad.
Amit and
Add to
Nagesh, for this great presentation, and thank you to all of our attendees today. Thank you for taking time out of your day to learn more about CA Spectrum. I wish you a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Octavia. Thank you. I appreciate that.